February, and we had to deal for the first time in a very long time with no football. Super Bowl is next week, but no NFL, of course, no college. College went a lot longer, but it was the first weekend. I mean, there was, some Senior Bowl stuff. There's always something you can get into, but no football. Jim Scarcelli's with us. Scar, how did you handle the vacuum with no football out there?
Danny, I like college basketball. So we got our Michigan Wolverines winning. Dusty May is put together a great staff, and we're, Michigan State goes and loses now to USC. If they lose to UCLA, we will be tied up down the stretch. So yeah, I got plenty to watch, and we got a big game next Sunday. I'm gonna give you a winner, Denny. You bet the over for the amount of carries that Mahomes will have. He's at 5.5. He will have 7-8 carries. They will not care about next week in terms of running them. Probably a good bet with Jalen Hurts at 9.5. So those are winners. The amount of carries for Mahomes and Hurts. They will carry the football. There is no tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that even apply to Mahomes, not last week, but the last game in those championship games, he was running it in where before he would not have done that. So, yeah, I like it. Hurts, the question mark is with his knee, so you don't know about him running. But actually, he looked pretty good running the ball, too. He ran one in. So I'm with you on those. I like those picks. I haven't really looked at all of it. I think I'm just going to go with Kansas City. That's going to be my big play for next week.
Yeah, I like the under. I think both those defensive coaches are really, really good. I think it's going to be a grinded out game. They're both really good on defense. So I like the under, and I like those over on those carries.
I'm like you. I always, football is dwarfs everything else, but I love college basketball. And usually I just flip the switch, and I watch Michigan. There's no doubt. I've always done that. But usually I flip the switch, and it's all day. I just watch college basketball. It has not been like that for me. So maybe it'll be more that'll pick up some steam where I'm watching more and more college games. But it has not quite been the complete, like, turn the page, here's the calendar, football's done. Let's just completely go with college basketball. But I'll work on that. Maybe I can just jump right into it after a little bit of a delay. Today, we've got enemy camp to take a look at. Also, NIL contracts. There's a lot of different things going on out there. Spring games and some Big Ten coaches deciding to do some different things. But with this Michigan roster, we have been looking at it over the past couple weeks, and you can go back and look and get Scar's impressions on the different players. And we're looking at from number 33 and 34. We're going to go through there. There's Dom Nichols at number 33, Scar.
He's going to be a good player. The problem is they moved Barham over to the edge. So now they've got to he's going to be the fifth guy. You got Moore and Barham and Guy and Brandt. So they may rotate him a little bit with some of Brandt's reps. But, you get an injury, bam, you got a fifth guy that can fit in and tighten up your four-man rotation real easy. But I see him as the fifth guy. He has a future at Michigan, and they definitely wanted him back. He's a big, good-looking athlete, and future looks good for him.
Yeah, very exciting. And Jaden Hood, he's Mr. Michigan. You root for him no matter what he does. If he plays, if he doesn't play, you listen to him talk. He's the leader. He's everything that you would want to hear from a Michigan football player, whether he's out there or not. Just one of those guys that gets it all from front to back. What did Harbaugh gave one of those stickers out. I don't know if that's continued. The sticker was enthusiasm unknown to mankind, like team guy. But I bet Hood has a couple of those stickers. If not, he's been up there and every week was probably fighting for one of those. He's just
he's going to compete at linebacker. He's right there, and they moving Barham out there. It's they must have some faith in somebody at that position. He might be one of them.
Yeah, I like what you're thinking when we get to that. And here's three guys that I don't think are on the team anymore, looking through that. So let's get up to 36, and that might be also the case.
Yeah, guys that aren't really they're really not in the mix. Some of them are walk-ons and just not really in the mix.
Yeah, well, that can happen. I mean, you've got a big time roster, although there's no such things as
Boyven is transferring. He was a productive player, number 40, and he's transferring out. Now, TJ Guy, 42, is Sharon talked about him. I was high on him when I saw him in the spring game. So we are really, I think we're going to have one of the best edge rooms we've had in 4 years. Even with the Hutchinson, Jabba, collectively we've got a really, really talented 4 or 5 guys now that can play in there. Good depth.
Yeah, Guy seems like he's going to be a captain. He showed up. I don't know how they pick it. Part of it is that you probably had a good game, but they also like what you say. And the TJ Guy led the appearances at the Monday press conferences for Michigan. He was always there. El Hadi and Guy almost always were there. They needed somebody in a pinch. Now, those guys might like doing it, but they don't say a whole lot. They know the Michigan way. They sound like the coaches, just an extension of a coach.
Danny, I know that being even though it was just a little high school coach, and you have the media wants to talk to a guy.
Yeah,
you're kind of cautious on who you let him talk to. You don't want a guy that's gonna maybe say the wrong thing.
Right, spill the beans. Those guys.
Well, you kind of think about those things. So Sharon has faith in those guys. Now, 43 Tonelli, he's a kid that was highly recruited. I saw him in the spring. I thought he was a physical, tough kid. I don't know if he was hurt, but he hardly played this year. So I don't know what's going on with him. He looked like a tough kid, but some of those guys might have passed him up. The Klein and then the other freshman. So I don't know where he stands.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch him in spring. They've got a good, solid tight end room. If you want to put Bredesen in there, he's coming back. He was the captain last year. He also showed up a lot on Monday, no surprise. And every player, you ever want to hear anybody talk, if they're not really saying anything, say, tell us about Max Bredesen, and they all just talk for you got to basically just say, okay, cut them off. They all like talking about Max Bredesen. Love him.
Yeah, he's seems like a team guy and tough guy and humble guy, and that's the stuff that's being formed in the weight room now. Denny is that you just see guys lift, and you just see players see everything that each other does, and you can't hide what you are, man. You the film tells you what you are, and it goes.
Question that we jump in before we look at some of the other players, and Keegan is asking about Ty Haywood, the tackle out of Texas. He was set to decide today, but over the weekend he has pushed his decision back till Wednesday, which is signing day. The thought on Haywood is that Michigan is in a great spot with him. So having him delay, you might be a little bit worried, but also, how ESPN and how signing day, they like having, and he is the highest ranked player on anybody's board. They may have talked to him and just said, hey, you want to just make the big announcement on Wednesday on signing day? I believe that's how it's going. Michigan still, if you have to make a prediction, I still think it's going to be Michigan, but it is a couple days more. So if you're, might be biting your fingernails a little bit, but it's going to be a signing day special. Ty Haywood, the tackle, and of course Michigan would love to get him. So we're waiting to see.
Keep our fingers crossed there.
Yeah. I don't know if he's told Michigan that he's coming or not, but Michigan feels good about getting him. And Hewlett's on this list. I don't think that he hit the transfer portal, so he's still in there with a chance.
He got a little bit of clock, he's a guy. I don't know. Are they counting on him? I don't know. But he's played, he's been on special teams. Denny, when you look at a guy and they play him on special teams, he's on the punt team, the punt return, that usually means they have some type of a plan for them. That's about it for today. I just wanted to hit a few guys. Tar has been a good long snapper. 45 has been an outstanding long snapper the last couple of years. So, but they've done well recruiting long. That's one position sometimes you just can't. You have to offer a kid a scholarship sometimes at first long snapper. Bo didn't want to do it for the longest time. It's a skill that isn't easy. You can't just take any old guy and make him a long snapper. It's a skill that's hard to teach and be real good at it.
Right. And the only time you talk about it is when they screw up.
Well, it's so damn important, man. And you don't realize it. You start coaching, man. You better have another guy that's pretty decent too. And when that guy gets hurt, if something happens to that kid's hand or something, I've had that happen. You better have another kid that can do something. Otherwise, you got to go for it on fourth down all the time. Can't do anyway. It's important. But that kid's been good.
Yep. All right. I think they did go after I'm not up on my long snapper depth chart, but I believe they went in the transfer portal and maybe brought.
That's right. They did. They gave a kid a scholarship. They had to probably nil up and scholarship up and.
Yeah, well, if you're coming in now, you're in, so you're getting paid something. If you get the scholarship with 105, it's not 85 and then 40 walk-ons or whatever else. It's 105 and everyone's in. Everyone gets the training table. Everyone, there's no difference now, right?
That's right.
That's the way it's working. All right, we turn our attention to the enemy. In the Big Ten, and that indicates, so you said enemy, that indicates to me Ohio State, but I guess the Michigan has more than one enemy. Where are you going?
Yeah, you always have to be aware of what's going on with Ohio State, and Chip Kelly's gone. So I wasn't fearing Chip Kelly. Danny, sometimes the guy is a good coach, and he has a lot of success, but you have his answer. Wink had Chip's answer. I think we had an answer to Chip Kelly. Wink had him figured out. We only got 10 points. So I wasn't, I'm not heartbroken, man. I wouldn't mind him coming back. So now we got to see what he does at that position. But Chip's going to the Raiders, $6 million. He'll be the highest paid assistant coach in the NFL. They've lost his offensive line coach, a guy named Fry, who's been the Ohio State offense. Good coach. But you know who's over there as an analyst that I'll bet you right now is going to be moved up is Tim Drevno. Tim Drevno was with Jim forever at Stanford and then the 49ers. He brought him to Michigan. Tim Drevno's a good coach. He's a good technician. I don't know that he was the best recruiter. I think that might have been one of the things that happened here. But listen, you got to watch what's going on there. And you wonder what they're going to do at the defensive coordinator position. He's got Laurinaitis, who was an assistant. I don't know if they're going to make him a coordinator, but there's a guy named Tim Walton who's been about a 20-some year college coach. He might, Ryan Day may move him up. But you got to watch what's going on there.
I think Hartline's going to be the offensive coordinator. He's been waiting there. If somehow they would have ended up, firing the head coach. There's a lot of people that would said because he's done such a great job recruiting that Hartline might have been the head coach. And so certainly I think now that they have an opening that they will be sliding him in there. I don't know about him calling plays, but I think that Hartline's probably going to be the offensive.
Yeah, Danny, that happens, man. It's like I had that on my notes too. It's like, how long is this guy going to hang around? But they pay him so much. He's probably a great recruiter. And there's some guys that are just stuck in a position title forever, and they don't feel they have the acumen. I mean, you got to keep it real. There's something about him that they don't think he could outcoach Wink Martindale or Jesse Minter or Mike McDonald. I mean, that's what a position coach is totally different than a coordinator. Coordinator, you want that guy that's going to outsmart Wink Martindale, that's going to find a way to give him problems and headaches and coordinate the whole thing. So we'll see what Day does there. But, the kid's making so much money, he doesn't he gets pissed off. He's like, oh, screw it. I'm still making, $600,000 over here with the Buckeyes or whatever.
I'll keep it real with you. You mentioned James Laurinaitis. I was at a charity event, 10 years ago, and standing over by the I was standing by the bar. I guess it was close enough to the bar, but Laurinaitis was there, and I ended up talking with him for 20 minutes to a half hour. Both him and his wife. That guy's a great guy. I know he went to Ohio State and everything else, but communicator, funny guy. His dad was George the Animal Steele, the big wrestler from.
No, his dad was not George the Animal. His dad was another wrestler, though, not George the Animal.
Bobo, who was
it?
Let
me tell you this. I played against George the Animal Steele's football team. He was a football coach. George the Animal Steele's from coached at Madison Heights.
All right.
Laurinaitis' dad was a wrestler, but I forget his name.
It's close to that. I don't know much about wrestling, so
anyway, I know who George the Animal is. I coached against him or played against him when he was a coach.
I bet his dad was a big guy with a butterbean, maybe
something. Yeah, but
how about Road Warrior Animal?
That's about right.
That's who it is. So that's it. Road.
We'll see what they do there. It's probably not going to be Laurinaitis. It's someone who's been a coordinator. This Tim Walton, that's the guy I think. But, you study those things. You get a feel, of how you prepare in the spring. You want to get an idea of what you might be looking at.
Yep. These guys that are on the chat, they're all thinking.
Okay, well, then that's probably it. They made him the OC, and then
they're just saying that. I don't know if there hasn't been an announcement, but that's it. Andres isn't so sure that Heartline's going to be awesome.
I hope so, man. Maybe they, Andres might be right. That's just it. You got a guy that's never been a coordinator. Let's just hope Ryan Day gets one of those selections wrong. I mean, that's huge. You miss out on a recruit, Denny. That's one thing. But you miss out. You get one of your coordinators wrong. That is huge.
There you go. All right. So we've got what else about Ohio State? Amir Hall is not coming back. He's not able to come back. So he gone.
No, just some other things of note. We don't play Notre Dame, but it looks like they're all done with the portal quarterback. So CJ Carr is going to have a chance to compete. Local kid, Saline kid. I remember Jason, his dad, his dad when he was a kid. I coached against Jason when he was a player at Catholic Central. So we'll see if CJ gets a chance there. Danny, some other thing of note, Brett Venables, we play Oklahoma.
Yep.
He's going to coordinate the defense this year. So he delegated it the last couple of years. So we're going to go against Brett Venables coaching the defense. And he is a guy that runs multiple stuff. 3-man front, 4-man front, 3-4 front, 4-3. That's what he's known for. Is multiple stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, he's a good coach. So I got this video I want to play for you, Scar. Let's see if I can do it. This is Michigan's.
Yeah, there you go. I can see it perfect.
There they are.
They're working. Yeah, you see team above me. You got them lifting. You got them firing each other up. You got Coach Tress getting them fired up.
Wow, a lot of stack there.
Yeah, they're squatting. It's just, it's a hype video. They're carrying the big heavy bag. Team over me. You see it, Denny? Team over me on the shirts.
It's surprising to me just looking at this is that they had tons of weight, on that pull down, but not so much weight, not too many wheels on the Olympic bar there on the squat or on the bench. They were light that way, but pulling down, maybe just what it was. And
I thought they had like 245s. That's 225. I don't know. You try doing that about 30 times. Mike Gittleson was big on heavy, a lot of reps for squats. He would have us doing 50 reps.
50 reps. Okay.
Anyway, Danny, listen, I wanted to comment about that because
all right.
It's what's going on now, and it's huge. It's a huge part of building your culture of your football team. The selection that the head coach makes at the strength coach position is huge. It's a connection to the culture that the head coach believes in. You know, we had Mike Gittleson, and there's a connection between all the little, you know, Mike always emphasized the little things, you know, running through the line. You know, when you run your sprints and the way you lift and you finish everything, and all that correlates to then just the way Michigan is, the way you are as a Michigan football player. You know, Mike emphasized all the same things that was carried over then with your position coach and then the head coach. So I think, you know, I think that's important. I think it's getting done. You're building team now in the weight room, and I saw that video. Look, Jim fired one of his strength coaches when he first came to Michigan. And then he went out and I think he traded up. He got Ben Herbert. Ben Herbert is not an average strength coach. So you got to have that position right. I'm hearing good things about Tress. Coach brought him back, and the kids seem to respond to him. You know, Denny, here we are, February. It's cold. It's nasty. You know, what do you do now? This time of year is where you need the strength coach to get guys fired up, get the people, get the team unified. But, you know, you're built. And I always felt, Denny, as a coach, I was a strength coach. You know, when you're in high school, you're both. You're the head coach, you're strength. I always felt that when I was working out my kids, that you give me a tough kid in the weight room, he's going to be a tough kid on the field. If he quits on that squat rack, he's going to quit in the fourth quarter against the enemy. And I used to tell my guys that I don't want you to quit. If you're a quitter here in the weight room, you're going to quit on the field. So I just think there's a correlation between that. And that stuff is getting built now, man. And I guarantee you, Tress, you know, he has reports, you know, weekly to Coach Moore about the status of every player in terms of the commitment they're making and their improvements.
I love it. You know, Scar, you're answering this question without even seeing the question put up there, but Ferris wanted to know about pull-ups, and if you had any, I guess, workout advice. I can't do any. Maybe that's advice.
I think I could still do maybe 8 to 10 perfect marine, all the way, maybe 8 good ones. They're hard, man. Yeah, those are body weight deals, and I don't know. I know I could get a few. It's just a matter of how many.
I could not. I've got like 50, 100 pounds in the middle that, like, you see people sometimes with the weight belts, you know, they're hanging it down there while they go up there. Exactly. But they do have the weight assisted ones that you go over there and that you can, those help. But I have not, in my latest era of weightlifting, I'm not doing many pull-ups, pull downs with some, you know, with some weights, you know, there, but not many pull-ups.
Anyway, Ferris wants some advice. Yeah, start out with the weight-assisted ones, or just pull downs until you can gradually, or do some cheat pull-ups. Do the cheater ones where you just don't come down all the way.
Yeah, I have seen some people that use the bands and they put their legs in them, which helps. And then you can have, actually, if you don't have the weight-assisted machine, you can have people help you up that way. I've also watched plenty of videos on there. If you can just get up there and then just hold yourself up there, kind of doing negatives, that can help you as well. But if you're somebody like me, but I've seen Ferris in person, he's not like me. He looks like he's good to go work out. But if you're overweight, those are real tough. You gotta get that weight off before you're even thinking about pull-ups. But I don't know, after 40, after 50, you just said that, you know, you could do 8. There's not many people out there, I think, that are doing them. My style now is, I want to lift weights and I want to be healthy and I want to do that, but I don't want to get hurt. So I'm watching a lot of the videos and a lot of the techniques too.
Yeah, Ferris, that's the number one rule after 50 in terms of strength training, is that you can come back the next day healthy. That's the number one rule, man. Don't overdo it. Be smart, warm up. But I'll tell you, Danny, something else that's going on of note. Nebraska signed Big Rocco. Yeah. Big Rocco from Notre Dame. I don't know if you know this. Rayola's dad, you know, he played with the Lions. Spindler's dad played with the Lions. Raiola, the quarterback at Nebraska, and Spindler, the one going there, they go way back to some little league football deal in over here in Rochester, Michigan. My buddy told me that. So those guys have a connection. They go, played little league football together. But anyway, that's happening. Rocco's going to Nebraska, and I'm going to tell you right now, that may be, other than the Buckeyes, that is going to be a real tough football game for us. So Nebraska on the road is going to be one of our top 3 most difficult football games to win regular season.
I agree with you on that. And it might be more difficult than the Oklahoma game, when you're thinking about it. So,
yeah.
And it's more important since it's a Big Ten game. Also about a Spindler, little known fact, I worked with his dad for a year in Detroit on the radio. He used to do a show called Meatheads. We'd be at a bar downriver, a converted bowling alley. His dad's a lot of fun to hang out with. Mark Spindler's he's a fun guy. He is a meathead. So
he's a good player, man, out of Pitt.
Yeah, love to talk about Barry Sanders. You get him.
He was a good player.
He'll talk Barry.
So that's happening there at Nebraska. They I think he saw at Michigan. Maybe there's more competition. Something also of note: John Harbaugh hired the Georgia Tech defensive coordinator to work with him. Guys want to work, Denny, in that Wink Martindale system. They're still running that system. And that's how you get to be get a pro job. Don't be surprised if one day that guy ends up at Michigan after a year with John Harbaugh. Okay, his name is Tyler Santucci. I'm just saying, I am always looking at who John brings in. John's coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh's coaching staff. Michigan people need to always take a peek at.
I think that's good advice. I was glad to see Chuck Pagano, Chuck Pagano's got to be in his mid-60s. And a lot of times, and it is about his age, but I've also seen him, he's in the media and he does, a show like this on YouTube. So, you get a little bit of his personality. He's got a good personality, but a lot of times everybody's like, you got to go hire a young, 20-something-year-old coach. Pagano's, 65 years old. And John Harbaugh is bringing him in as one of his.
Well, John, he worked with John way back. They go way back.
I like it.
Pagano is like the uncle of the kid that played here. What the hell was his name from Colorado? Oh. I can't think of his name. Played on the edge.
From Colorado, huh?
Yeah, he's from Colorado. What the hell's his name, man? I can't think of his name.
Well, somebody will know. We got plenty. We got hundreds of people.
Danny, here's something else of note.
All right.
That's big. That's interesting, and I thought about this. Matt Rule at Nebraska, they are not having a spring football game. You know why they're not having a spring football game? He doesn't want anyone to see and evaluate his players. Because if they play well, they're going to get a phone call in the summertime. So I heard him talk about it. He's crushed. Nebraska's had, sellout spring games forever. He doesn't feel he can do it because the enemy will be scouting, evaluating, and then he said last year after the spring game, he had like 12 kids get offered NIL offers from other schools.
Yeah, that's a reality that every coach has to go through. I remember there were a little bit different circumstances because he could use the pandemic as an out. But Harbaugh in 2021, he didn't have a spring game. He didn't allow fans. He had a spring game, but he just let some family and friends, no cameras and nothing. Now, he was bringing in the new 3-4 defense. A lot of people are like, well, he didn't want to let people watch his 3-4 defense. But, man, the fans just, they love football so much. They just wanted to see their heroes out there on the field. They don't care about any of that other stuff. But, Harbaugh understood that. But he also understood there's a lot of people, the enemy eyes, are going to be trained in there checking it out. I think all of those, you can imagine all through the MAC, anybody. I've heard some of the, not specifically MAC, but coaches that, you'd say group of 5 coaches, they have their spring games, and anybody that looks good, next thing you know, the coaches, those kids are being contacted like, hey, you go through spring ball and hey, we could use some depth at corner. There's a kid over at Eastern Michigan, and those guys are all getting calls. They want to go out there. And so it's tough to have a spring game that way. But, yeah, you mentioned Dom Nichols earlier. What'd you call him, the 4th edge? Or
I think he, right now he'd be the 5th guy, but I think he's going to push Brandt. He's going to put, it gives you a great situation if one of them guys get banged up, because I think you're back up to 5 for good rotation.
Yeah, it also is one of those things where in spring ball, if you're another team that's right, thinking that you need an edge, you're like, hey, let's get a hold of Dom Nichols' agent, and let's tell him that, hey, whatever you're getting paid, we'll pay you more, and we're ready to go to let you start. Or
hey, don't think for 1 minute, and I thought about this. Don't think that the Alabama game, these bowl games are like scrimmages in a lot of ways, because guys leave and you got, you don't play Percy, you play another young guy, you know what I mean? Instead of anyway, don't think that the game Marshall had, he went in, I guarantee you he went in and had a little renegotiation with our running back Marshall, the way he played in that football. And some of those guys, Dom Nichols might have been another one of them. Right, real good. Can we get 5? Can we get 5 people to donate $5 per scarf? I guarantee you, I will knock out 5 perfect ones, all the way up. None of them head bobs. I'm talking locked out, all the way up, all the way down. Oh, Danny, they're messing with you, man. They're talking about donuts.
Yeah, I don't know if you put a bag of $100 bills up at the top, if I can do it. Pull-ups are hard. When you're overweight, maybe when I get some of the weight off, I'll be able to do a pull-up.
Motivation, baby. But yeah, I think that the performance of some of our players in that spring game, some of them got some phone calls. A kid like Sprague played well. He hadn't played all year. No one knew what the hell is he coming along, and I think Marshall got a phone call. I bet you he had some people reach out to his high school coach, and they got to ante up. Michigan has to ante up. And then you wonder if some of these teams are purposely not playing guys because they don't want the enemy to see them, just like the spring game. There's just so much going on with this now.
Right. There was a thread over on the Maize and Blue Review, and I didn't see it, and it said Rule canceling because he's worried about tampering, which may be true. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm thinking, what school is not tampering if you're an agent? So every player has an agent, and if they don't, I would think that they all have agents. And if you're an agent, if I'm Michigan, am I not contacting every single player on a list where I think that I'm looking at my depth chart just to check in on him to see what the cost would be, where he's at, and that's where I would get to. I was thinking about the guard when you mentioned Rocco Spindler. We didn't know. He was a starting, and so was Coogan that ended up going to Indiana. Those guys were starting offensive linemen on a team that went to the national championship game. Were those agents, should Michigan have been calling those agents to check in on them to see if those guys were going to hit the transfer portal? Michigan went after a kid from Cal Poly. They went after a kid from Ferris State as guards, but then they still were going after Rocco Spindler right at the end. And, there you couldn't be any later because you have 5 days, after your season's done. And was there any indication that Spindler would have been available? And you have to weigh all of those different things when you already have him in there. I know Michigan was trying to get a visit, but, Rocco probably looked at it. It's like, Michigan's got, look at this depth chart. He was leaving Notre Dame because the depth chart was full. So he wanted to go somewhere he thought he could play and probably get the most money.
Yeah, Indiana has done a real good job in the portal, man. The guy is smart, and they are for real. Indiana is going to be a problem. It ain't the old Indiana anymore. Denny, how about Biff Poggi coming back?
Yeah, that's good news. Yeah.
Yeah, Biff, he had a short run at Charlotte. It didn't work out. Played with Dan Marino. I've met Biff. He played with Dan Marino back in the day at Pitt. And his kid was a good player, fullback tight end at Michigan. And
what I like about Biff Scar is that I remember the story when Jim Harbaugh was here. And the story was kind of one of the engines behind Jim Harbaugh that's really helping him. They called him his consigliere, I think is what they called him. And Biff Poggi will do it all. And, he's got the enthusiasm and all that. So I always liked Biff Poggi. And then when he went to Charlotte, what I liked about him, you look at coaches, most of the coaches recognize that they're the CEO and they're the face of the football program, and they dress like it. And they're dressed, even if they're in like their own team's garb, they're kind of dressed sharp. Poggi was wearing cutoff, he had cutoff shirts, and I think he wore like basketball pants, like as a head coach out there. It's like he didn't care about that part. I get that, dress for success and look like the part, dress like the part, and everything else. But I also like Poggi out there, like I'm going to wear basketball shorts. It's like Wink. I like Wink. Wink's got his style. He must think it looks good, Larry. He's got the spandex underneath, and he just wears the cutoff shirt like Belichick. He doesn't care. He doesn't too. But Poggi's the same way. Poggi's gonna wear a cutoff shirt, ripped up, and he's gonna wear some basketball shorts.
I can say this, Denny. When I was coaching,
yeah,
you're so fired up and energized. It could be 30 degrees, and all I needed was a t-shirt and a little sweater. I mean, it's amazing how, I'd never needed a big coat. Biff is that same kind of guy. He just got the cutoff. But anyway, he's back. He plays a role, and they worked it out. We had heard about it for a while. He's officially back. Any questions on there, Danny, that people had that you want to hit at? Anything?
Well, let's look through here if we have.
A couple people had some comments about Tennessee.
About Tennessee, it was about Keegan saying about tampering. Anyone not named Michigan or Tennessee is allowed to tamper. So Michigan is, can we say, embroiled in a legal battle with the NCAA. I think that's accurate. Tennessee was the last team to, get into the ring with the NCAA. So I think that's where this is coming from. But look, is it tampering? You can contact any player's coach or you can contact any player's agent. I know they're not in the transfer portal. We know everyone's doing that. I would still think that Michigan, even though that, they got to really watch what they're doing and everything because they're under the microscope. I would think that there's somebody connected with Michigan calling on every player that they're interested in, either their high school coach or their actual agent, just to check in with them to say, hey, we're here, wherever you're at, what are you thinking, kind of thing. Don't you believe that, or am I?
No, I mean, you got to be. It seems like it'd be crazy to get caught now tampering because you just go through the high school coach. Everybody has a guy, so I don't know how the hell that is even a factor. But you're right, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, tampering. If you send the guy, if it was like Rocco Spindler, you don't send a tweet if you're. If somebody from Michigan, certainly Sharon Moore's not going to be like, hey, what's up, Rocco? Even before, while they're still playing, would love to see you back home. Yeah. Is it tampering to call their high school coach? Just say, hey, what's going on, man? How's your kid doing? How's Rocco doing?
Yeah. Danny, did you look at that contract? Were you able to get that up?
Get that. You wanted the. I didn't know that you wanted that up on.
Maybe we could talk about it next week. But
all right, it's something about an NIL contract. I thought you were giving me that for some background.
No, I just wanted to see it, and we can look at it. And there was CBS had a contract, and it shows detail, man. Behavior on and off the field behavior is a factor, and then if you play in the bowl game, if you play in the bowl game. It's all everything's mapped out. Everything's presented. If some guy might say, you know what, I'm a high pick, and I'm just choosing not to play in the bowl game, and they'll cut his pay. And other guys, they may even the kid might want to play, and the coach might say, you know what, we'd rather play with a young guy. So all that stuff is spelled out now. The length of the season, they get paid per. I think every week they get a check, and it's all broken down. We'll get it. Maybe we can get into it next week then.
Cut from a different cloth was asking my thoughts about Biff Poggi. Nothing but positive. I think I gave my thoughts on him. Great move. Love it. Poggi loves Michigan. Even when he was gone, he defended Michigan. He still seemed like he was a Michigan man. He was great when he was here with Harbaugh. I can only see positive things with Poggi coming back. I don't see any negatives with Poggi coming back. That's
Biff. He was over there at that school in Baltimore. What the hell's the name of it?
St. Francis, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, St. Francis is, they got kids from all over. He built it. And so he's definitely used to working with the 5-star kids from all over in different environments and finding a way to get them to come play at St. Francis. And I gotta believe Biff's role when he worked under Jim was multi-layered. He was a problem solver that maybe an assistant coach isn't going to handle.
Here's an easy question for you, Scar. Your gut feel on the final resolution with NCAA and Michigan. What do you think it'll be? You got a guess there?
I mean, I saw a $15 million fine. That's a lot of money, man. But it's probably going to be a financial fine and maybe some probation. I hope.
Right. I think trying to predict the NCAA is tough business. They talk out of both sides of their mouths, and they're not an institution that anybody looks up to and is proud of and thinks that they're really operating the right way with the best interest of student athletes and universities in mind. It seems like they're vindictive, and anybody's guess is as good as anybody else's. So, you just hope that Michigan with their lawyers and maybe they can, kick this can down the road for a long time. You just hope for the best here. A big fine. Michigan already is on probation. So I don't know, to sit around and say, oh yeah, well, I hope Sharon just gets, suspended for 2 games and Michigan gets hit with a 15. I hope nothing. I hope they are able to outlast the NCAA and Michigan's lawyers are able to wiggle out of it. So, it's just tough to make a prediction on that, but yeah, a fine is fine, and let's go. You don't want any, trying to say, well, there'll be some, recruiting restrictions. I don't know. Good luck with all of that.
I have no idea what they're going to come up with.
Yeah. I think to me, it's just hopefully Michigan's able to play the long game on it, and maybe we're still sitting around in 2028 and the NCAA just dissolves and everybody's first question is going to be like, hey, what about this thing with Michigan? It's like, it's over. That was like 5 years ago. Let's just move on. That's what I'm hoping, to move on.
Yeah. So anyway, this time of year, Mike used to have us work on the things the pros test on. He didn't do a lot of it just so that we would be ready. The shuttle run, the 40, benching two and a quarter. Mike wasn't a big bench press, all the time guy, but we did enough of it just so we'd be ready for the pros. And we had vertical jump. So yeah, Mike understood that even though it might not be the something that will correlate always with your workout for the day, but he worked it in so that guys would do it for 4 years. You know what I mean? And then when they did have their pro day, they were ready. I did, Denny, 225 22 times for the pros. I weighed 229 pounds, and I did that 22 times. Ran a 4.63. That was the pro day at Michigan.
And when you mentioned Mike Gittleson, you're talking about the strength and conditioning coach when you were there. Those are pretty good numbers. I think that you'd have been in there that said, hey, this Scarcelli's a workout warrior. Let's make sure we put him on our list here.
Some guys, some coaches are big on all that stuff. It depends. You want to – I played with guys that couldn't bench 2 and a quarter, 5 times. Yet they were all Big Ten football players. Defensive tackles, not defensive backs.
Yeah, there's some guys
Brian Urlacher, he went out there and blew all the tests out of the water. Ended up being a Hall of Fame, a Hall of Fame player for the Bears. Man, some of those guys say, you like to see them go through the battery of tests. Doesn't mean everything, but some guys, it really can improve and really can help them. They go out there and catch your eye. So that's it. All right, cut from a different cloth is fast, but he's calling you an offensive lineman.
Yeah, well, that's some of them are. I don't know that they're 4'6", but I questioned. Though that was electronic. Some of those times I questioned some of these times these guys have now. Are they hand time, electric time? Are they? I don't know. I remember Anthony Carter, and he was like a 4.5. I mean, I see some of these times these guys say they're 4.4, 4.3, whatever.
4.27s.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever. I just
those are the crazy.
I wonder what happened to the clocks in the last 20, 30 years. Are guys just slower? Are they just faster now? I don't know.
Donovan had not a surprise to me. Donovan Edwards with some. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the Senior Bowl, he was turning some heads with the individual workouts and things, and him catching the ball and all that stuff doesn't surprise me. So, all right. Well, final question. It kind of comes back to where we started. Mike is asking you if Ohio State falls with both of their coordinators.
That's one of the most important skill a head coach has to have, Denny, is surround yourself with great people. So that's key. I'm hoping he hires Hartline because Hartline's unproven. We'll see. It's one thing to be able to go out and recruit. The big defensive line coach over there, he's never been a coordinator. Larry Johnson?
Nope.
No one's ever made him a coordinator. Why not? Guy's been coaching 30 years. So anyway, it depends how good a job Ryan Day does. And, we'll see. Let's hope he screws up one of them.
Exactly. All right, Scar, great job. Can't wait to talk with you again down the line.
All right, Denny, go blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Hit that